So we are renovating our house right now, and we actually just finished this meditation room. It is honestly like my favorite room in the house. I just feel like a princess, and I'm so grateful for this space. So these curtains are from IKEA, classic, and they came in packs of 2. So 2, 4, 5. See, I had 1 curtain left over. Well, maybe it's this room. Maybe I want to feel more tan without going outside, because I'm not going outside these days. I just have really wanted some white flowy clothes. So my plan is I'm going to transform these curtains 6 sister into my dream flowy outfit. This leftover curtain and make a 2-piece set out of it. A skirt and a top. Let's cut this bad boy. I'm just gonna start by cutting off the links here so I don't have to worry about those. Then I just need 2 measurements. 1 from my shoulder to the bottom of the breast pieces, and 1 around the part of my body where I want the waistband to land. Oh, I did this later, but I also measured the width of the breast pieces at the base. I started out by cutting out my pieces. Time to brush up on some geometry. The height of the triangle, which is the centermost point, is just the measurement from my shoulder to the top of the waistband. I added a few extra inches to the width, the bottom portion of each breast piece, to account for the gather I'll be putting in at the base. I'm trying to kind of figure out the sizing for these boob pieces, and I want to gather it at the bottom so it kind of has that shape like I talked about. I like the width up here, like it's gonna go down just a little bit because of a hem and everything, but I think this is actually kind of my target width already. So I think I need to make it a lot bigger actually for the gather. If I gather it, it's not gonna be that wide, and I need it to be a little bit wider than that. Okay, let's do this again. I'm repeating pretty much the same thing, except I did add probably 6 more inches to the target width I had established to account for the gather. Once I had cut out the first piece, I laid it on top of more fabric, pinned it together, and then cut along the edges so I had 2 of the exact same pieces. Next, I cut out the straps. This is super easy. Basically, I'm giving the straps a lining, so I just cut out 4 strips of fabric, all the same dimensions. The last piece to cut out is the waistband, but I did need to figure out how wide I wanted it to be. 3? I like 3. 3's a good solid number. I'm gonna fold it in half, so that would make it 6. And then I want at least ½ an inch for seam allowance. So we're gonna do 7 inches. This is just another rectangle, so for me, it was 31 by 7 inches. I measured that out on the fabric and cut it. Time to bring out the big guns. Okay, now the big thing that I have to do with these is I need to gather at the bottom, this big part. And I haven't done this before, but I've watched plenty of YouTube videos about it. So like, how hard could it be? To gather, as I understand it, all you do is basically do a basting stitch, 2 basting stitches actually, and leave the ends of the stitches long. I'm gonna hold, I guess, the bottom threads, so like the bobbin threads, and try to slide the fabric around. Okay, let's see. It's working! Slow but steady. Yes! Look at that! Look at her go. After scrunching up the fabric, I measured it to make sure it was the correct width that I wanted it to be. Oh, perfect. That's exactly what my target was. Can I like tie this to kind of keep her in? I think I can. Yeah, she's not going anywhere. Can't pull too hard, but she's snug for now. I then threw a little hem onto the edges of each breast piece. Our beautiful front pieces are now hemmed. You can sort of see it coming together. The next thing I'm going to do is work on the back straps. I'm just gonna sew these 2 pieces right sides together. Now this is the part where I'm gonna do something pretty fancy. Hopefully it works. So I basically want to sandwich the top of this in the top of this. I have to stick this from the bottom all the way up to the top. So hopefully I can kind of just thread it through, squish it. Can I do this? close. Yes! See how that's all perfectly squished in there? Yeah. I want to sew this really, really well. So I'm actually going to put like a few stitches on this just because like the weight of the entire thing is going to be on here. Let's just turn this all right side out. Ah! Yes. That's what we call seamless, everybody. Well, it's the next day because I realized I made a mistake. I tried this on, sort of. I kind of pinned it to the waistband just to see kind of how it lies. And I realized that this strap for the back that I put up here really is a couple inches off. And I really want it to be a lot further down here. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to, what's the word again? Gather. I'm actually going to gather this portion right here, and I think that'll be good because then it'll give that kind of shapely, you know, curve to the top as well as the bottom, and then it'll kind of cover the whole thing. I don't know, I think it'll look really good. I think I need to take it all apart, as much as that kind of hurts because it even took me a really long time to even pin this together. This is exactly like what we did at the base of the breast pieces. I just put a couple of basting stitches at the pin I was using to mark the top of the breast piece, and then I scooched the fabric along to create the gather. I then pushed the top of the breast piece up and threw the strap to match up the two pieces just like before and sealed it with a few stitches. Now begins the task of putting this thing in the waistband. Oh wait, I made a mistake here too. I'm going to do buttons with this because this will close in the front, but there's a little gap you can see, and basically what I want to do is have buttons on this one, but then this one I'm gonna have like little strings that act as the buttonholes rather than doing actual buttonholes, because I don't think I have a buttonhole foot and I don't really want to learn something that intense right now. Maybe it's not that intense, but I could be hyping this up too much. For now, I'm just gonna stick with string. So I'll just do undo, undo. What? Dang, all right, I need to practice talking, obviously. I'm just going to undo one side of these and then sew it back with the loops in there. So I decided to use this pretty sturdy yarn that I happen to have on hand for the loops. I then cut 3 equal length strings. I'm placing the string with the loop facing in and the raw ends facing the edge of the fabric. So you can see here, once the seam is sewn, when I turn the waistband right side out, the loops will be securely facing out. I then sewed them in and was sure to go over each loop multiple times to keep them really locked in place. I wanted to sandwich everything in this waistband, the front pieces and the straps, so I started by pinning everything together so I could sew all in one go. I wanted to create a nice edge, so I first pinned for the hem of the fabric down 1/4 inch, and then that made it super easy to pin everything else in just the right place. All right, time to try this girl on. Just going to carefully try her on. Ooh, still got pins in her, so you know, don't want to get pricked. This is what she's looking like. I'm liking it. This is perfect. Yes, yes. Okay, it's time to sew it all together. Then I carefully sewed along the waistband, making sure that the seam caught every little piece of fabric it was supposed to. And guys, we are almost there. I just sewed these 3 buttons I had left over from a previous thrift flip right in place, and now we're done with the top. Welcome everyone to day 2 of this project. I've now finished the top. Yay! And now it is time for the skirt. Whoa. Hello, Google? Google kind of scares me, to be honest. Anyways, now it is time for the skirt. I've gone back and forth on designs for this skirt, and I really want it to be flowy. Like, that's definitely the thing that I've known from the get-go. Really want it to be flowy, but I have a very limited amount of fabric, so while I would love to do like a circle skirt type of situation, I really don't think I have enough fabric for that. So I settled on doing a wrap skirt, which actually looks really easy. Like, the only hard part looks like maybe you have to make sure that you cut it very particularly. But I think I can figure it out. I think it will be fairly simple. I'm just gonna take a few measurements and then get started. So the first measurement that I need is my waist measurement. Next one is the skirt length. And then the front. Let's have her come up pretty high. Okay, so I have my measurements, but I really need a huge space for this. I think I need to put this on the floor, which means that you guys are coming with me to the vibe room. Okay, here we are. So the biggest thing here is to create the perfect shape of fabric. Once you get that, everything else is super easy. So the first thing I did to create the specific shape I needed was find the center point of the skirt. That is the center of the waistline. So I just used my tape measure to create a half circle and then cut that out. From there, all around the waist, I measured one side using the longest point and on the other side, the shortest point of the skirt. I tried it on and realized that I did want each side to have a curve as it hung from the waist, so I cut a nice curve around the corners. When I tried it on, it was perfect! So I quickly threw in a hem around the edges. After that, I cut out a long strip of fabric for the waistband, sandwiched the waist of the skirt inside the waistband, really similar to the top. I finished it off with a seam all the way down the waistband, starting at one end and ending at the other. And now we're done. Here is the finished set.